Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome back to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BetSperts. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christensen, and joining me, as always, Mr. Andy Molitor, who is cold because his heated floor doesn't work and there's snow, and he might even have a cold. How are you, Andy? You holding
Yeah,
up?
I'm a little under the weather. I didn't do diddly jack on Saturday. Really didn't do much of anything except ingest some soup and some Dayquil. Oh man, yeah, felt a little better yesterday. I was worried I wasn't going to be able to deep dive last night, which maybe wouldn't have been the worst part because Drew was depressed. Bad weekend for him. I had a break evenish weekend in football. I finally did what we always do this thing, Noops, where we talk about player props and somebody in the chat has a good idea on a player prop, and I love that. Oh, that's great. And then I don't place it. It wins by a million. So even I brought up the Saquon Barkley rushing. I'm like, God, can't they just run him like 30 times for 200 yards? Won't that just be the game plan, right? Against a really bad run defense. I said, I'm going to, and then other people in the chat said, yeah, I'm on that, or I'm playing that. I'm like, all right, I'm going to play it. So I even did the ladder thing where I put some smaller bets on like over 147 yards, over 157 yards, and I got a few of them home. So it felt nice to have a little safety net for some of my poorer bets. Got that, and my poorer bets being college basketball. Jesus, kicked in the teeth a little. I didn't play anything yesterday, which was fun because I got that my spreadsheet doesn't update fast enough where I can actually, when I pulled it up this morning, it's like, hey, you would have played Manhattan +4 yesterday. Of course, I would have. Thanks, spreadsheet. They lost by. I'm a glutton for punishment, so I checked. They lost by 3. But Joel Embiid MVP is underway. That team is fixed. I think we're all better. The Vikings Bills game was electric. That was one of the most crazy games where it was like, oh, this is a 14-point game. The Lions, the Packers, and the Vikings were all like, we're down by 14. Let's see how this goes. And just all of them turned on a dime. It was wild. So fun weekend of football, and we're back at it this week. And Noops has extra time today because there's no tennis.
There'll be some tennis tomorrow, but for some reason they decided to start the tournament tomorrow, Andy. So there's some qualifier matches, but there's only 4 of them, and they just about finished.
Yeah. Where is it?
Inconvenient.
Just get me ahead of the schedule here. Where is it?
Buenos Aires.
Ooh.
South American clay swing. Little
There we
sneaky
go.
end of the year South American clay swing.
It's not a bad spot to be this time of year, as it is. It's spring in Buenos Aires. Pert near summer. Speaking of nice places, we'll touch real quick on golf before we get into football. This is the final tournament that's a real tournament. It's not the final tournament you can bet on because you can certainly bet on the father son event that happens here in a couple weeks. There's some weird events that you can wager on. This is technically the last real PGA event, if you will, until we get to the Sony TOC Tournament of Champions in January. And field isn't great, but there are some decent names here, and everybody who lives here will play this one. This is on Sea Island down in Georgia, gorgeous area. A lot of golfers live there, but I will caution you, the guys who live there usually play like shit. I don't know if it's because it's their local tavern they go to every night, or all their friends are around, or they just want to spend time showing people around, or they're getting to sleep in their own bed and they're distracted by wives and kids. I made a lineup in DFS of 6 good golfers last year who live near this course on the sea island. One of them made the cut. It was an embarrassing performance by all of them. So don't use that in your handicapping this week. But Tony Finau, fresh off his win last week, will be here as your big favorite. Brian Harmon, Tom Hoagie, last year's winner at Pebble Beach, Jason Day, Taylor Montgomery, a guy who probably makes my card because he's about due to break through. Like I mentioned, Seamus, who's also got a win. I believe he's your FedEx Points Cup leader right now because he has, the win and then also a couple decent finishes. Neesmith, Keith Mitchell, one of the aforementioned Georgia products, JJ Spawn, and Denny Mack. I haven't made any decisions yet. It's an easy-ish course. It always goes to a playoff for some reason. I think it's like 4 or 5 of the last 6 or 7 years we've had a playoff. There's been a bunch of guys here that have always been close. I
That's
think
kind of
Webb
weird.
Simpson. I think Webb Simpson actually has not won this, but has been to 2 or 3 playoffs. So there's a handful of guys that have been close here. So I'm going to take a look at some course history, which I don't love doing, but mostly course fit. Take a look at this beautiful little par 70 and find some guys. I'll have some outrights I'll fire off tomorrow with Noonan on the same YouTube channel. Look for that if you like betting golf. I didn't have a winner this week, but I did win money on tournament matchups. I went 2-1, and I think 2 of them were plus money, so pays for my losing outrights. And then Commies-Eagles, another thing I didn't bet yet. Probably won't. I do see, and Leg Show's pointing out, the whole world does seem to be kind of latching on to maybe the results that they saw last Thursday, where the Eagles didn't take a shitty team terribly serious and just kind of held them at arm's length like you would in a cartoon if a smaller person was swinging at you. And I mean, that's what it felt like with the Texans. It was like, oh, they're never going to pull away here. And Washington, maybe the same boat, but Heineke squarely. I'm not sure what the game plan for Washington is here, but man, Philly is off the extra rest by, and they're one of the best teams in the league. I'm not sure if I can use that Thursday night game to place an actual live wager on the Washington Commanders right now.
I don't think you take a lot away from that Thursday night game against Houston. Again, the Eagles know that they have kind of the pseudo bye, if you will, Thursday to Monday, and it's a look-ahead spot to a division game. I know that the Washington professional football team hasn't really been spectacular this year, but it's a division game, and I think one of the things I like that they do with the schedule, they put more of these division games later in the season. They've already played Washington once, snookered them pretty much in Washington, but that's a spot where the Eagles really kind of want to lock in here for this week. So they're back at home, and I mean, you take a look at the Washington defense. What's going to stop the Eagles from putting up a big number here? Now they've been a first half team, so maybe you look at some first half angles, but I can't think of a reason that Washington is really going to be able to slow this team down.
Yeah, and it was, obviously a different quarterback when these two teams faced. It was Carson Wentz when they faced back in September, but that's the main issue. Like, even if Philly doesn't take it seriously, and yes, as people are pointing out in the chat, it's a divisional game. It's hard to lay double digits in a divisional game. They only allowed them 8 points in that matchup, and those 8 points didn't come until the fourth quarter. It was an absolute drubbing by the Eagles defense. I think it's probably more of that. If you like the Eagles, maybe a first half look and maybe an under here. So, yeah, it might
You
be
like a first half over, second half under combo? Is that
yeah,
a thing?
it might go over strictly off like Philly was up 24-0 in half. Like, a 21-3, 21-7 kind of first half doesn't seem that unlikely. Philly does do a lot of damage early. So I don't know. Like, have fun with this. I'm just going to bet touchdown scores and try to keep we got a halftime streak alive. We took 49ers second half -7. I got a -7.
Never in doubt.
7.5. And because again, everybody in the chat was up in arms about this. Like, well, you guys are stupid idiots. Why wouldn't Herbert play? Like, because they looked at him for concussion. It's instantly like 50-50. You never know what's going to happen with that shit.
People know how touchy the concussion thing is, right?
Yeah, and I thought he looked fine.
We forgot about that already.
So, and we didn't get the backup quarterback in. We didn't get the Chase Daniel look, and Chargers still didn't do shit. 49ers were very dominant in that second half. Happy to have that. Looking for another one tonight. And hoping to start the week off right with a first touchdown score.
That's the dream. And again, Eagles games are always so stinking tough. They're big favorites, and their touchdown concentration is very heavy with a few people. Again, Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, A.J. Brown score the lion's share of touchdowns for this team. But some good angles here I like for the Washington football team, and a couple nice numbers on some other Eagles that should be good tonight. Starting with Dallas Goedert. 10-1. The tight end for the Eagles, again, hasn't maybe drawn as many targets as people thought, given some of the other players in the offense, but this number should be closer to 7, 8-1, like it is just about every single other week. A little surprised that it started to slide out here. I guess, given some of the increase in targets to Devontae Smith, his number has shrunk down and Goddard's has slid out a little bit. But Washington has given up touchdowns to tight ends pretty much all season. I think in almost every game they've given up a touchdown to a tight end. So I happen to grab Goddard here at double digits, 10-1 or better. There's that number's at a couple spots. Kenneth Gainwell, we've bet him a handful of times and will continue to do so, especially against defenses that really struggle against receiving running backs. Washington, the way the defense is set up, they actually do fairly okay against the run, kind of in the middle of the field. But when you get into the red zone, Kenneth Gainwell does come in. He gets a lot of targets, and receiving running backs again have done very well against Washington. We'll take them at 20-1. Just the Eagles defense, not the Washington defense. We have a rare combination, Andy, where the defense that forces the least turnovers, I think the second or third least turnovers, faces the team with the least turnovers. The Eagles don't turn the ball over. Washington doesn't generate turnovers. Their special teams is nothing to be excited about. But the Eagles defense, however, turns the ball over quite a bit, just about as much, if not more, than any team in the league. I believe they were top 3, if not number 1 in that category. Taylor Heinicke, everybody thinks of maybe as a little more conservative, has thrown an interception in every single game he's played. Now, it's just 3 games, but has thrown a pick, has had a few other passes that probably should have been picked off at this point. Just think there's a great chance that he throws a touchdown to the Eagles tonight. Really like this at 22-1. Curtis Samuel, 28-1, really is the heavy red zone target for the receivers here in Washington. And one of the few ways you do attack this Eagles team in the red zone is at the wide receiver position. Terry McLaurin will probably get Darius Slay tonight, get basically all the attention there. So Curtis Samuel, again, who has been a big red zone target, especially the last 3 weeks with Heinicke as quarterback. Really like this number at 28-1. Should be closer to 20 in my opinion. Logan Thomas, again, Eagles a little softer against the tight ends, and Thomas continues to be a target magnet with Heinicke in these last couple weeks. Really like that at 36. And Heinicke himself, 45-1. Rushes the ball quite a bit. Had a couple first touchdowns last year. I believe, that was last year when he played for Washington again. I'm not sure if he has a first touchdown already this year. Again, just 3 games, but has rushed the ball quite a bit. 45-1. I love this, but again, go ahead. Make sure you cover yourself a little bit. Maybe I've been thinking, Andy, about doing some parlays of like Jalen Hurts' first touchdown and 2 touchdowns or something like that. I don't know. I keep trying to figure out ways to hone in on this Eagles team. Again, every week it does seem to be Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts, or A.J. Brown.
Yeah. Who was the first touchdown scorer in the last Eagles game?
The last Washington game against the Philadelphia Eagles, it was
No.
Goddard.
I was going to say the last Eagles game.
Oh, the last Eagles game. Houston.
It was some rando from. It was a Houston Texan.
It was a Houston Texan. Tegan Quitoriano.
Yeah, it was the Quentin Tarantino joke guy. For sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was.
If you ask your mom who directed Pulp Fiction.
A totally made up guy. One look for me tonight in the basketball realms. I show a little value on Wofford, but I am just hesitant to fade Drake at home at this point in the
Like the rapper?
Yeah. No, Drake the Iowa
plays
team.
a basketball team?
Drake's gonna be good. Like maybe if this kept going, like I don't know what it's at right now. Maybe if there's a bunch of Drake steam and this just kept going up to like 13, 14, there's a chance. I know some people who bet Drake early and got a decent number on that. And also now with the changes, I never know if it's in extra games or not. Drake is up to 12. God damn it. I might be betting Wofford, guys. Keep an eye. I'll put it out if I do bet that. But I did bet one Santa Clara. This is another one versus a good team. I only bet against good teams. We'll see how this goes. But Utah State should be taking a step forward from where they were last year. Probably a tournament team. Probably kind of on that cusp. We'll see. Maybe they just win the Mountain West and not have to worry about it. It's still early in the season. I'm basing this off a lot of priors, which is tough because honestly, Santa Clara probably taking a step back a little bit from where they were last year. They've looked good, but they've played absolute nobodies. They beat the tar out of 2 pretty bad teams. Utah State kind of in that same boat, although like the Bradley, what was it? Bradley and Utah Valley they're better teams than Santa Clara has beaten. They're right around the same level as Santa Clara. Another home game. This will be the first road game for Santa Clara as they head down to wherever the bleep Utah Valley plays. Honestly, or Utah State rather. I can never keep the Utah teams straight. We're gonna look this up right now. Utah State Aggies play in, is it Provo? This one, Logan, thank God. But just kind of a underlying metrics numbers thing. I make this like 5.5, which makes me feel bad because all my underlying number plays have done shitty over the weekend. Utah State's not really forcing turnovers even against these bad teams. And I like some of the offensive rebounding numbers we've seen on both sides of the glass for Santa Clara. So +7 for me tonight. We'll see where Bookmaker has this right now. You can still get a 7. Market has not moved much. There was 8 earlier in the week or earlier in this cycle, kind of a soft opener, but 7 looks like the number for me, and that's it. Unless I really, really hate myself and bet Wofford later.
Well, speaking of things I'm going to hate, I guess I'll talk about it. The NBA comes up, but I've got 2 picks. There's a total I'm going to bet the over on. It's going to go under, and I'm going to be furious by 8:30. So it's fun to know those things about yourself.
I already bet the Magic.
It's
you know
not
that?
the Magic. It's not.
No, I know, but you bet the Magic. So did I.
Oh, NBA Andy.
No. Drew just told me he was going to bet the Magic and the Bucks last night.
Yeah, the Bucks are pretty close to me, but 2 teams I do like here. The Orlando Magic, again, just looks like a really good spot. I know the Hornets do have LaMelo Ball back. It will be his second game, but no Gordon Hayward. Terry Rozier continues to be kind of banged up, and it's a bad basketball team. I mean, LaMelo hasn't had any chance to work himself in any kind of form here with the team now. A pretty good player, and they're obviously much better without him. But, this is telling me that the Hornets would be a short favorite over this Magic team on a neutral court, which is just nuts to me. The Magic at home, I had this closer to 4 points myself. So -1, -2, if that pops up, it all looks good to me. The Magic, again, when they have their point guards healthy, are generally not terrible, which is kind of where we are here. This is always tough, Andy, when you're trying to handicap bad teams. But the Magic are pretty solid. They continue to try to win. Paolo Banchero did practice on Saturday, so I assume that he's going to play today. It would be pretty weird to have him practice on Saturday and then keep him out of the actual game tonight. Once he comes in, I think we will see this finish around 3, -4, pretty close to the number I have. So grab the Magic now at -1. And the Toronto Raptors, Gary Trent Jr. was just announced out, so this actually moved a little bit against me. You get a better number here, Raptors -4. Still like it with Raptors -4. Trent, a really good catch and shoot player for them, really opens up the floor. So would have preferred he played tonight, but even without Trent Jr., Pascal Siakam, and Fred VanVleet, there's enough depth on this Raptors team to just absolutely swallow up this Detroit Pistons squad. No Cade Cunningham. It's not quite cutting the head off the snake, but the Pistons really don't have much more else. A lot of their players are kind of built to play around Cade. They're differential to him. Curious to see what Jaden Ivey can do tonight. Maybe he shakes out a little bit, but an already thin Pistons team is going to be missing their best player. I think the Raptors really put one on them tonight. Might go back and add a Pistons team total under. We'll see. I kind of agree with Drew on the Bucks -4, but Dan is probably just sitting laughing to himself right now because all the Hawks have done is just snooker me over and over and over again. And as good as the Sixers were against them the other night, they got a little bit of revenge there. It's tough. And the bet that I will be making in the future, the Phoenix Suns, Miami Heat, that total is at 215. I can't wrap my head around how that's lower than 219. Started it out with 220, almost 221 this morning. Tweaked some stuff down. Tyler Hero might be out. But as soon as Tyler Hero is announced in, if he is, I'm going to be taking that over there. And just before kickoff the football game, I expect to be freaking out about both teams shooting 40% because that's kind of how it seems to be going to start the season.
You know what? They are going to be shooting 40%. Noops from 3.
I hope so.
That's me being positive.
I like it. I'll be negative. You be positive.
Much positivity as I can muster with my my ailment. Just
I like that.
I'm just full of phlegm and hate right now. But I'll get there. I'll get better. I'm just gonna eat some more soup. I'm gonna take some medicines.
Fun day.
Oh, I know. I had pho on Thursday. I don't know how much. Already, like Uber Eats is already like, "Hey, you're a regular." Yeah, buddy, I know. sometimes, sometimes I order from not Uber Eats just so they don't judge me as much. But yeah, if I have any more basketball, I will tweet it out, put it on BetSports app as well. I doubt it. I'm going to start looking at some totals as we go here. But with that, I wish you guys the best of luck today in love, life, and wagering. And catch you tomorrow. Hit the thumbs up on the way out.